Okay, hello and welcome to Hello Governor the podcast. As always, I am Abdullah and I'm joined today by Hunter McCoy. How you doing, Hunter?
I'm good. Thank you, Abdullah, for having me, chef. How
So,
are you doing today, man?
well, I
Oh,
mean, like
sorry.
we were just talking like a couple minutes ago about like having to. I was like just rushing because I legit forgot we were supposed to be recording today, and I'm like, wasn't there something I should be doing today? I'm like, oh shit, yeah.
I had the thought yesterday and this morning. I was like, should I email Abdullah and be like, hey, like, are we still on for today? Just as a quick reminder. Because it almost escaped my mind too. I forgot to put it in my calendar. Um, until I think yesterday at some point I was like, I have nothing going on Thursday. Oh, wait. And now we're here.
Yeah, so and I was like I was about to do the same thing as well. I was like about to email you like yesterday, but then I'm like, you know what? I gotta like I got some stuff I want to personally deal with first because then it's like
Yeah.
you know what it's like where you have something and you're like, okay, I gotta deal with like this big thing or this like small thing, and you better like deal with like
hmm
the bigger issue before it bites you in the ass. And it's just like, and like I told you, like I'm talking to like multiple people and sometimes even I get confused. I'm like, who am I talking to again? Oh, right.
Yeah. Are you getting a chance to talk to Corey
I've had
at all?
Corey. I've had them
Oh, heck
on
yeah.
like back in 2023, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. Like, because it's like, because Corey, like, I mean, Corey is like they're getting the what do you call it, like the accolades and what have you. But I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I want to like talk to someone who I have not had on the show previously, and yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Also, I'm getting so distracted. My cat is finding something interesting about my laundry bag. What are you doing, bro? That's Cloud. That's my cat Cloud. Um, his brother Link is somewhere, but I might put he's fine. He's fine. He's good.
Yeah,
He might
so
just be up to some shenanigans in the background.
so if you're just listening to the audio of this, you're missing out on like so many cat actions.
Yeah. He's jumping like 5 feet in the air. It's really impressive.
But
Oh my God.
the first question is the obvious one. How did you get started? What made you want to get into acting?
Oh, I've told this story before, and I have a tendency to tell stories the same way every time. And so hopefully I don't get too repetitive with it. But I started acting when I was like three, kind of. My but my parents, when I was like 3 or 4, put me in like community plays at the local church. Uh, and I they like to say that they called it, because at the time I really did have an affinity for it when I was a kid. I was a bit of a clown. Um, I was in 2 plays. I was a sailor on the Good News cruise. Um, and then when I was 4, they did something like a cafe, like a Christian cafe. And I pressured the people at the church to give me the lead when I was 4 years old. And so I played the manager at the cafe. And I forgot my lines on stage, and that was really bad. And the 17-year-old I was acting across from totally saved me. But from that point, those are the only 2 things that I did as a kid. And then from there, I kind of didn't touch theater for a really long time until middle school. And in 6th grade, my mom was like, "Hey, they're doing The Little Mermaid. You should get a part of that." I would like, you want to be on stage, right? And this was a different time and a different Hunter. And so I was like, sorry, but theater's for girls. I'm not gonna do that. A year later, they're doing Peter Pan. My mom's like, they're doing Peter Pan, you should audition. And same response. I was like, that's lame. I don't want to be a girl, actually. But then she was like, you can be Captain Hook. And I was like, that's awesome. So then I auditioned. I didn't get Captain Hook, but I got one of the pirates. And from that point is when I really started like loving it. Like the bug kind of bit, and I started taking drama classes and doing show choir and things like that. Um, and it was still just extracurricular for me. It was just still something I loved, but not something I wanted to do. I really loved art at the time, and I loved programming, and like math and stuff. I wanted to do video games, concept art or design in some way. But then in high school, as it started out being more art, math, programming focused, but then I started doing plays and started getting more and more into it. And in junior year is really the flip, where we did we did the Crucible, and it was the first time that I had a lot of lines, um, that I could speak in like my normal tone of voice. It wasn't like Shakespeare or musical or whatever. Um, and I loved it. And I started really taking it seriously. And I had asked my student teacher for notes one night. It was like close to the actual run, and so we were doing runs and rehearsals, like final dress. She was like, "I don't have any notes for you tonight. I wasn't really watching. I'll give you notes tomorrow night." Next night comes. We get notes from our teacher, and then I go up to the student teacher, and I'm like, "Hey, do you have any notes for me?" She's like, "Yeah." She sits me down, and she's like, "I hope you do this for the rest of your life." And she starts naming off all these details of things that I added, and that was like the first moment that I thought I really could. Um, it was really a turning point. And from then on, I decided like this this is something that I'm going to dedicate my time to. And so I started looking into acting colleges and decided that I was going to get into the best one that I could. Um, and voice acting was always a part of that. Like I love theater and on camera, but I've been a gamer and an anime fan and an animation fan my whole life. And so when I was like in middle school, I was doing impersonations and accents and things like that. And it was kind of one of those things where I think it always starts with someone saying, as kind of silly as it is, it's like, "Oh, you have a good voice," or like, "Wow, you can like do a lot of silly impressions." Um, but once that combines with a love for theater is when voice acting becomes a possibility, you know? And all my friends at the time and my partner in high school really encouraged me to be like, you need to voice act. Like the things you can do with your voice um is really impressive. And not to gas myself up, but just like, yeah, the things that I could was able to do, it was just natural. It made sense. And so yeah, from that point I went to acting school with the full intention of I'm going to get legit classical theater training, and then I'm going to go do video games and anime and animation. And it's worked out so far. I've been very, very lucky.
That's actually a good mindset to have because like a lot of people, who like you said watch play video games and watch anime don't understand that the reason why the actors they love are so good is because, most of those actors come from a theater background. And if you don't come from a
Yeah.
theater background and if you don't know what acting is, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, big time. I think there's a lot of folks who get into just voice acting, um, with the intention of doing video games and animation and stuff. But I think voice acting is a specialization of acting. You know, it all comes from a core, and without that core, you're kind of. I think it's easy to do the voice acting thing, and I think that's where the joke comes from on TikTok of like, "Hey, I'm a voice actor, and I love this," um, doing the anime voice, doing the video game voice, whatever it is. Um, but all of it does stem from a storytelling and a humanity, and then you kind of learn the intricacies of each medium as part of that. I I kind of keep everything in three different brains. I have like my voice acting brain and my theater brain and my on camera brain. And the scale is kind of like one end is theater, that's like the biggest because you're playing to a whole crowd, and then one end is on camera. Usually it's very small, and voiceover is somewhere in the middle because there is like it kind of swaps between the two depending on the medium. Video games is kind of more cinematic, very close, very minimal, whereas animation can be like huge and big sharp changes and large characters. Um, it's a lot to shift between, but all of it stems from the same core, you know?
Not to mention like with animation, there are different acting styles. Like, if you watch a Nickelodeon show, the reads are much different than a Disney show, for example.
Yeah, big time. Different senses of humor. If you're doing a Disney show, it's going to be completely different from an Adult Swim like comedy. Like the acting in BoJack Horseman is nothing like SpongeBob, you know? Or something like Smiling Friends is completely different than Gumball. Although actually maybe not. They're both kind of absurd.
Yeah, yeah, but even like when you're doing like a silly show, like there are different acting styles. Like with Smiling Friends, it's much more like conversational, more like down to
Hmm.
earth reads, while Gumball is more cartoony, if that makes any sense.
Totally, totally. Um, by the way, do you do any acting or voice acting yourself?
No, no, I just like, well, I mean, I'm a podcaster and I have to like make sure that I can like
Yeah.
talk for this thing, so.
Yeah, so I think you are. You're definitely a performer in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have to be because I mean, if I'm spending like hours editing audio and listening to myself over and over again, yeah, I guess I am kind of a
Yeah.
voice actor.
Yeah, big time. That's one of the things that I don't think people know about as well with voice acting is like how much you have to get used to your own voice and how much of it is kind of on your own. Because like a lot of us, we're just in our houses. We record in a closet or a booth or whatever, and then we spend hours editing and like listening to ourselves. And it's a lot of back and forth, like, okay, I'm gonna go back in the booth and read this. And um, especially if you do audiobook work, dude, that is hours upon hours of listening to yourself. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I had Mark Thompson on here and he does all the Star Wars audiobooks. I asked him like,
Hmm.
how do you avoid getting burnt out because you do all the audiobooks? And he's like, dude, it's Star Wars. I gotta like, and I love Star Wars, and that's what keeps me going. And I'm like, yeah, good
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah, you kind of have to I don't know, kind of have to start to love your own work. I think the best time that I have whenever I'm at home auditioning or whatever is whenever I can make myself laugh. Is if I go into the booth and I come out and I start recording it, I start to get in a flow state when I'm listening to the audition and I laugh and I'm like, that was good. And I'm like, oh, I want this to be better. You know, you kind of start to craft the story for yourself. And once you enjoy it, that's all you can ask for, you know?
And how did you get involved in panty and stocking?
Oh, that was I it was an audition for my agent. Um I got that audition in like, I don't know, March, April-ish. Maybe the timelines are goofed in my head. Um but March, somewhere between March and May. And that was around the time somebody had leaked that there were auditions for Panty and Stocking. Um because the original cast from 2010 wasn't coming back because the show had been taken over by a new creative team and there was a new vision. And so, because of that, like it wasn't necessarily going to be the original actors. And so, somebody had talked about that on Twitter or Blue Sky. And from that point, people had known that this thing with this code name was Panty and Stocking. But that was for the original, like the mains. That was Panty, Stocking, Brief, Garterbelt, and Chuck, as well as Scanty Knee Socks, I think. And in that round, I only auditioned for Brief, but then a couple weeks later, some more auditions come down the line, and it's for polyester and polyurethane, and they're under a code name. It was like latex and um something else. I forget, but I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this is Panty and Stocking. But I looked them up and these characters hadn't been released yet. So I was looking at the wiki and there were pages for them, but all it said was, oh, polyester. in polyurethane are new angels. We've seen teasers, yada yada. So I was like, okay, not much to work off of. And I think there might have been one teaser that had the original seiyus doing the voices for like 2 lines. And I listened to that briefly, but I was like, okay, I'll like kind of take it into account. But try not to pay too much mind. Trying to just do something original with it. But I opened it up and it was the audition for Polyurethane. Uh, his first line was, letting a ghost go without killing it? That's a no from me, dog. And I said, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, it was, that's so the way that I speak. I'm very much like, yeah, what's up, dude? Like, I got you, fam. I speak very, it's a mix of like Gen Z and like Ninja Turtles because my mom and my dad are fairly young, and so they grew up in the 90s. And so my mom and I, we're like, yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, I got you, dude. Got you, bro. And seeing a a character that spoke the way I did, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this needs. And so spent a lot of time on that. And that was kind of the voice I did for polyurethane. And then polyester was described as polyurethane's older, a bit more serious, um, more methodical brother. And so that's how I saw it was like polyurethane was the wild card, polyester was like methodical. My polyester audition was actually like deeper and more controlled, I guess. More in the vein of like mercy hath no place in heaven. It was like, yes. Like kind of that I don't know, I don't know character to liken it to, but almost like the kind of uppity vampire, you know. This is the Ghost Vision Pro Max. In that realm. I sent it off and I was like, awesome. That was a lot of fun. I like you kind of send it and forget. You don't want to sit on it too much. And then a couple weeks later, maybe like 3 or 4, get an email from my agent, and they're like, "Hey, we would like to offer you the role of polyester in New Panty Stocking with Garterbelt. We really liked your audition for latex, and latex was the code name for polyurethane." And so then I was really confused. I was like, you liked my audition for polyurethane, but you're offering polyester. And part of me was like, okay, maybe this is a copy paste typo from whoever they offered polyurethane to. Um, and I was like, well, how should I approach this? Like, is one of these things wrong? Am I going to go in and use the voice that I did for polyurethane as my voice for polyester? And until we recorded, I didn't know. I was kind of preparing for any and all like possibilities. So I was practicing the lines in every combination. I was like, okay, I'm playing polyurethane, but I'm doing the voice for polyurethane. But no, I'm playing polyester with my polyester voice. But no, I'm gonna. Um, in the end, the email was entirely correct. I went in and it was that I was playing polyester, and they did like my audition for polyurethane, and so that's the voice I kept. Um, so the letting a ghost go without killing it turned into mercy hath no place in heaven. And so keeping that like, oh, I'm a fun-loving little mischievous little twink. Um, keeping that rolling into polyester. And once I heard Corey's polyurethane, it totally made sense. Because they're kind of like up here polyurethane, totally contrasts with my a little deeper like bassier, fun. Uh, not that polyurethane isn't fun. I'm saying, my polyester voice. Like I think it matches really well, and it matches with the OV really well. And so that's how I got involved. Honestly, it was a very very lucky audition, and yeah, I could have never imagined how well it was going to be received. Um, it's been kind of overwhelming. It's really cool.
It's funny you mention it's funny saying like, yeah, listening to you talk about like the differences between their what do you call it? Cadence and voices. Because if you watch the show in Japanese, the Japanese seiyus actually do have that as well,
Yeah.
ironically enough.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it was um they they said they liked my voice match. For I believe it's Junya Inoki is Junya Inoki is the seiyuu for Polyester. Um which which I've been geeked about because Junya Inoki is also does the dub of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And I don't know if you can tell by my wall back there. I love Spider-Man. And so that like connective tissue to be like, yeah, the transitive property of seiyus, I'm low-key Spider-Man. Um, yeah, um it was really cool. And I think it's awesome to hear how Corey and I kind of line up with the original OV, which they do fantastic, obviously.
And how did you take to dubbing? Was it easy or was it hard?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard, Jeff. Um, this is my first anime. Um, I haven't, so I graduated from acting school last year. I graduated May of 2024, and I moved out to LA like a year ago. And so I've been very lucky with the stuff that I've worked on. It's been very, very fast. But this is my first thing. This is my first official dub. I've taken like a couple of classes before, and it's tough, especially depending on the style of how they do it, because you always have to. I think Corey put it really well in another interview was you have to act. You have to watch the screen for the lip flaps and the animation. You have to read your lines, and you have to act at the same time. And so it's a lot of like switching between those three things, like a traffic light. It's like go stop, go slow, stop. Blah, 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 blah. And some softwares make it easier and better because in some studios it'll be like, okay, you're watching the screen like 10 feet away from you, but your lines are on an iPad that's right here. So you're and right here for audio listeners is like a foot away. And you have to constantly switch focus like up and down and up and down and like far and near as well as acting the whole time. And if you have a chunk of dialogue, it's like, oh my God, you're just constantly switching. How we record Panty and Stocking makes it a little easier. They do I should know what it's called. It's not voice tracks, that's a studio. But um there's a name for the software. But it basically adds a subtitle underneath and it's like karaoke where the text will be on the bottom or the middle of the screen, and then as your cue comes, um, it'll like slide over to a little line, and then once the text hits that line, that's when you speak, and it's all on the same screen, and it makes it easy, easier, but it's tough. I was really nervous for my first sessions of painting and stocking because it was like it's just a lot to get used to, you know? You looked like you were about to say something. I don't want to.
No, no, because like it's interesting you say that they did it karaoke style, but then when I'm thinking about like right now, I'm like, oh, of course they had to do it like that because if you watch the show in Japanese, everyone talks really, really fast.
It's so fast. Oh my gosh. Um, and sometimes it's really hard. You can hear it in one of the lines in the first episode. Um, as Polyester is reading off the judgment of Panty and Stocking. Um, and it's like it says the Angel's Panty and Angel Stocking are hereby guilty for misappropriating their freedoms. It's like a long line. You can hear my breath run out as I go further and further along. And in the OV, the Japanese, you can hear Junya take a breath. I did not do that. And sometimes we can't because when they animate it, they don't really care in Japan about the lip flaps being exact to the pronunciation because they're used to watching things dubbed. Like if they see in a American made movie brought over, that's usually dubbed over in Japanese, and the lip flaps aren't going to match anyways. And so they're just used to it. So the animation is literally just like ba 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 ba. The mouth opens and closed. But because we're used to prelay animation, where things are kind of match, the lip flaps match what we say perfectly, our expectation for dubbing is that the same thing happens. We kind of want to imitate that it's prelay. And so I did not take a single breath because polyester did not take a breath.
Listen, I know that that's terrible. I know like you probably went through a lot of like water bottles during that session,
Oh my
but
gosh.
but from a creative standpoint, this is probably like this is it. Like from a creative standpoint, it's a
Yeah.
great character. So, you know, it's kind of
Yeah,
that.
I can't complain at all. It's we joke because what's awesome is that our director our like can I cuss on the show? I have a bit of a potty mouth and so I keep getting the impulse to, but I don't want to like
You can say whatever you want as long as you don't break NDAs. And like, you know what? It's Panty and Stocking. They swear on that show, so it's
Okay, cool, cool,
fine.
cool. Um I'll still limit it. I'll watch myself. But I was gonna say our fucking amazing director Angela. Um uh she she's directed a lot of live action dubs before, but this was her first anime as well. Um, I remember in my first session, we finished dubbing the first episode that the Twinks are in, lovingly, the Twinks, and we were about to move on to episode 7, but there was one thing that I wanted to go back and fix, and I was like, "Hey guys, I don't want to make this a habit, but there's something I'm thinking about this line. Can I go back and redo this?" And they were like, "Yeah." And a lot of times there's the pressure to be like a professional and show up and be like, I know exactly what I'm doing to give comfort. But when I said that, I was like, if I'm being honest with you guys, like this is my first anime and I want to do really well. And so anytime that I'm not doing anything right, like tell me. I will drill it until it's perfect. Not perfect, but because nothing will ever be perfect. Art is never perfect, but until it's superb. Um, and Angela was like, "Yeah, totally. Like, I want you to get sleep at night, and I'm right there with you. This is also my first, so we're going through this together." And just how fun it's been. We keep joking that like people in the office ask Angela like, "Oh, you trying to work your way up? Are you trying to um like do more after this?" And she's like, "Dude, I peaked. My first thing is banning and stalking. Like, what are you talking about?" Um, and same here. I'm so grateful that this is my first thing. Um, to to have a character that's so fun and have so much creative freedom and be able to express myself and make jokes that are of my generation. We have so much freedom to like change the script. It's like, dude, I peaked. I don't know where I'm going from here, man. Um, yeah, exactly what you said. Just from a creative standpoint, no complaints.
Yeah, because and I know it's a mean thing to say where it's like, oh, you know, these actors are like killing themselves, and you're like, you know, you're focusing on the on the what do you call it, the end result. But I'm like, look, man, I'm impressed whenever an actor like does something that legit what do you call it, like where they push themselves to the absolute limit and then they give a what do you call it, like a tremendous performance.
Hmm.
Because with me, like, you know, you watch a lot of anime and what do you call it, prelay animation,
Yeah,
you get used to people's acting styles. You get used to being like, oh, that's Tom
yeah.
Kenny, oh, that's like Jean
Hmm.
DiMaggio, whoever. But whenever I hear any actor do something that catches me off guard, I'm like,
Hmm.
fucking A, man.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever someone is just like pushed to the limit. And that's totally something that happens in our industry is when you start to notice people's acting styles. I think people get cast together because they how they act lives in the same world. Like it's something that we talked about in acting school a lot was like I think it was a lot of times like in our movement class. We would do mask work where you just put on a mask with some kind of like could be like a weird puppet face or a face that expresses an emotion. And something we'd focus on is making sure the characters live in the same world and the same genre. And I think a lot of times, you kind of know which voice actors will be cast together because like you hear them a lot and they sound good together. They sound like they live in the same kind of realm. The critical role actors like Matt Mercer, Liam O'Brien, Lloyd Bailey, Travis Willingham, like they've been in so much because like how they act, like the way they express themselves and even like the tones of their voice. Whenever you place them together, you kind of know the world you're living in. Um, Same with like certain anime actors. You know what they'll bring to the table. And it's always fun when you can hear someone stretch themselves and do something like really surprising. Um, a friend of mine, uh, Daniel Walton, who plays Garterbelt in Panty Stocking. I fucking love that man. And I have heard him do reads before. I've like listened to clips and I'm like, who is that? And then when I'm told it's Daniel, and I'm like, that's Daniel? His range is insane. Um, I love when stuff like that happens. Or yeah, or when someone gets to be pushed outside their boundaries and gets the chance for a performance that pushes like the envelope, either for the medium as a whole or like outside of what we normally get to see. Um, oh my gosh, it was watching Zeno Robinson's work on Gachiakura. It's been crazy lately because he has had so much fun playing Jabber that I don't know. He was in his bag. That was a character made for him, and he's pushing the envelope like crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, talking about Zeno, I think, he's one of those actors where every time I see him in anything, it doesn't matter if it's like a small role, big role, he kills it because
Hmm.
like he's just good in everything. Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's just got it. Um, he is a workhorse and a really great guy. I've only talked to him very briefly, um, but is just a wonderful dude. Gave me a bunch of recommendations for Kirby games to play because I haven't played any Kirby games. And I was like, okay, okay.
That's that's great. Like, because most people when they talk to voice actors, they're like, can you give me tips on this and that? But you're like, hey, Zeno, I know you're busy, but do you got any good like Kirby game recommendations?
It was at my at a friend's birthday party. Another voice actor, Justice Slocum, um, Xeno was around, and everyone was talking about they were talking about Kingdom Hearts and Kirby, both series that I feel like I love, but I just haven't gotten into yet. Um, and so someone piped up and was like, Hunter hasn't played those, and then Xeno locked in, and Xeno was like, okay, you got to play this, you got to play this, and I wish I had it written down. I don't think I do, but.
I mean, well, you're not the first person I've had on this podcast who has a Zeno Robinson shows up at a party story.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's he's like he's like a cryptid. He just shows up out of nowhere.
Because whenever I ask people like, "Oh, have you met Zeno?" They're like, "Yeah, I've met him, but I haven't worked with him. I just met him at a
Yeah.
party." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. That is a great way to meet someone."
Sometimes that's how it is. Like I mean a lot of times that's how things work because whenever we record, we're on our own. Um a lot of times you don't know you're in something with someone unless one, you hear them like they recorded before you, and so you hear them like in the track as you're recording, And so you're like, oh, I know that voice. Um, and then you can like you'd be like, all right, cool, I'm in this with this person. Or you like see them on the sign up sheet. Whenever you go into a studio, you have to sign in. And so sometimes I'll peep who who clocked in before me. So I'm like, all right, sweet, I'm in this with this person. Um, but otherwise, yeah, you don't know until the thing comes out because we're not allowed to talk about it with each other because, thing's not out yet. You don't know what information some people have, some people don't. There's always the unfortunate possibility of recasts. And so you don't want to talk to someone and be like, we're in this together. And then someone's position changes. It's hard. Uh, and so sometimes parties, conventions are kind of the only way to get to know people as like friends and even as coworkers, you know?
And have you gotten a chance to meet any of your fellow castmates, or have you not gotten that chance yet?
Oh, with Panty Stocking specifically?
Yes. Yeah, pen and stocking.
Um, yeah. Well, I was already really close friends with Daniel, as I mentioned, Kat Pratano, who plays Scanty, um, who Kat is one of my best friends in the world. We started voice acting together like in 2020. We met doing a bunch of stuff on Casting Call Club and doing like YouTube projects. Um, and so I've been so grateful that I get to that my first anime I get to be in with them because Kat is like just wonderful. Um, yeah, already friends with Daniel and Kat and Kieran Regan, who gets pulled in for additional voices. Love Kieran. Uh, Kieran Walton, who plays Brief, I met very briefly coming in and out of a different session, but haven't had the chance to hang out extensively now that we're in Panty Stocking together. But otherwise, like, not much. I think everyone I've met in very short bursts. Um, like Christina, I've seen briefly. Courtney, I've seen briefly. Briefly. Um, and Corey. What's really funny is that this year Anime Expo is my first Anime Expo because of my first year living in LA. Um, and I had gotten the casting for Panty and Stocking like a week or two before. And so I walk in and there's Penny and Stocking stuff everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, what show am I in? Um, and at the end of that day of AX, I see a mutual friend. And I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, how's the con for you? And they were dead tired. And hanging with them was Corey. And at the time, we had both been cast, but we didn't know yet. And so we were like, hey, what's up? My name's Hunter. Like, yeah, it's like super nice to meet you. Um, but we were both going around that con looking for polyester, polyurethane stuff and just didn't know yet. And so it was a really nice moment of irony to then, a couple weeks later, like go into the booth and hear them and be like, "Who is that?" And then be like, "Oh," my director be like, "Oh, Corey Wilder." I was like, "What?" Um, and we haven't had the chance to hang out yet because they kind of jump back and forth between Texas and LA. They live in both places. Um, but we've been texting a ton and we'll be hanging soon. Uh, because we've gotten a lot closer over the course of like 2 weeks, just as this has come out and talking about like seeing the fan art and the reception and making memes together. Uh, it's really cool. And I'm excited for whatever cast party we do. Because there shall be a cast party for sure.
It's I can already picture you two bonding over Crash Bandicoot because I know Corey's into like. So I remember when I had them on, we were talking about Crash Bandicoot, and it
Hmm.
made me sad how that franchise has fallen.
Oh, I haven't played Crash Bandicoot. High key. Um, would like to. Um, there are so many memes that Polyester is a Sonic fan. And I'm fucking with Sonic. I'm fucking with Sonic. But I don't. That's not one that I've played many games of either. I think there's a lot of those mascots like Kirby, Sonic, Crash that I feel like I need to go back and like absorb the I was gonna say the lexicon, but that's not the right word. You know? The history, the lore of.
Well, I mean, you got like a huge backlog of like decades worth of games that you have to play, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Where should I start? What if I were to play one?
Oh, that's tough. Don't put me on the spot like that. That's tough. That is tough. Oh God, that is tough. Because like
Come
it's
on.
just. But what era, like, were we specifically talking about? That's the question.
Hmm. I think it depends. I think it depends on what is the like is there a good remaster? Like what's the most accessible while being the best representation of what Crash is, you know? Or should I just download an emulator and go back to the OG?
I mean, look, I think I said this in the interview with Corey when I talked with them about Crash Bandicoot. I said, look, I love the original Crash Bandicoot, but you would have to twist my arm to play that game for me to play that game again because it's hard. And I remember playing the remastered version a couple
Mm,
years ago, hated it. Like I'm just like, this is just too
yeah.
frustrating. I hate this. It's dumb. Who made this?
I've seen the clips. I think there's like a donkey video of the Crash remaster from a few years ago, and it's like, oh, that's bad. This was a cash cow. They were just like, uh, remasters are in. Let's do it, you know?
But I mean like but then 2 and 3 were much easier and I think like Crash Bandicoot 2 is a
Mm.
much better game than 1. I'm sorry because I mean look man they added the slide in 2 and that makes the whole game much easier and I'm just like you know what
Mm.
2 is much easier. I'm sorry. I'm a plebe. I get it. You know, leave your angry comments to someone who cares. I mean, I love Crash Bandicoot 1. I think it's a great game, but it's really hard and it's just frustratingly hard and it's just really stupid and I'm just like, you know what? I will just play like Crash 2 and 3, you know, because those are much easier and those are for dumb
Hmm.
babies and I'm a dumb baby and whatever.
You're not a dumb baby. You don't. It's not like. Don't fall for the Dark Souls. Like, oh, you have to play the hardest difficulty and like beat it with only your big toe on a Guitar Hero controller. It's like, nah, play the game that's fun. And I say that as someone I love the Souls games. I love Dark Souls. I love Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. Um, but like, dude, if it's not fun, um, like, don't play it. You know, unless you're someone who likes challenge, but. If it's like I will play things just for it to feel smooth and like easy and I wanna win. I wanna do cool stuff. That's all.
Yeah, but then the problem is like with me, it's like because I look, and I know this is a part of like about getting older and what have you, but a lot of times I look back on certain games with rose tinted glasses, and sometimes I worry like if I go back to them, they're not going to be as good. And that's like but
Yeah.
that's part of getting older. And I have to accept that, as much as I love Crash Bandicoot 1, it's just not a good game. Like I'm sorry, it's not like I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's just really, really frustratingly difficult. And I'm just like, it doesn't have to be this like why is this like frustratingly difficult? Like what are we gaining from this? It makes no sense to me from a gameplay standpoint. And I mean, look,
Hmm.
I'm not saying like it has to be easy. I'm not saying like every game has to be easy and everyone can beat it. It's like no, like I mean, if you want to play Cuphead and like smash your testicles with a hammer, go at it. But that's not for me. Like that's what do you call it? Uh style of game or that genre, it just isn't for me. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. Like, and I know
Yeah.
that a lot of people are going to complain about that, but I'm just like, look, man, I'm getting older. I'm 35. I don't have Like, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the time and patience for this. I was even old for this back then. So even back then.
Me when I'm 10 playing Crash 1, like, I'm too fucking old for this shit. Putting my cigarette out in my sippy cup.
And
Yeah, sorry, go go go.
no, but I mean, like, but I understand, like, these games are. I'm not saying like, they're terrible and they're always terrible. I don't want to be that guy who's like, well, popular thing was always bad, and if you like this thing, then you're dumb. And it's like, no, no, it's just like, from in hindsight, I don't think a lot of the stuff that are considered classics are that, have aged well, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Trying to think if there's anything in my brain that is like that. I think my biggest like series that I'm nostalgic for the most is Little Big Planet. But that's one that I think I can go back and be like, oh no, this is gas. I don't. Did you ever play the Little Big Planet games?
Yeah, I remember playing Little Big Planet 1, never played 2, but I remember playing
Oh,
1.
Little Big Planet 2 was peak. Because Little Big Planet 1 was like, okay, there's something really fun here. And then Little Big Planet 2, they took everything, pretty much everything from Big Planet 1. They added all of the stuff that you wanted to make it like more in depth, kind of. Because the game is a game engine in itself. They rounded out the rest of what they needed and then added just quality of life improvements. Bro, it is peak. I spent so many hours in Little Big Planet 2. And then Little Big Planet 3, they came back and they tried to add more, but I think Little Big Planet 2 perfected it. Because Little Big Planet 2 had the thing where it was the same problem as the Lego games. Part of the charm when they started out was that there was no voice acting, so it was all like, "Huh?" And like physical comedy. Same with Little Big Planet 2. Like there was small moments of voice acting in very few cutscenes. But then in the game, it was like and text boxes. Um, in Little Big Planet 3, everything's fully voiced and it loses some of the charm. And then it goes from being a three-layer platformer to having 16 layers. And so now it's like, okay, now we're like a weird, almost completely 3D side scroller. It's strange. Um, but it's Little Big Planet, and I love it to death, and I'll defend it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but I mean, all I remember from the first Little Big Planet was just like Stephen Fry telling you how to do press X to jump, basically.
And I would let Stephen Fry tell me how to do anything. Let me tell you. Um, yeah, that intro, Little Big Planet. Uh, welcome to the Imagisphere is just so perfect. Uh,
But I mean, I like the custom levels. I thought those were nice, and I thought that was a great
mhm.
feature. And I kind of wish that franchise had continued on so they could expand on that idea. But whatever, for whatever reason, it just didn't go anywhere. And I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, Little Big Planet walked so Astrobot could run. But that's not honestly, that's not even the right phrase because Little Big Planet 1 walked, so Little Big Planet 2 could run. And then I don't know, little bit like Little Big Planet like died and Astrobot just showed up at the track and everyone was like, "Yeah! Who's Sackboy?" I haven't played Astrobot yet, but I really want to.
It's just I'm just like remembering there was a time where it's like, oh yeah, Sackboy was a thing that he was going to be their mascot. He was going to be the
He
PlayStation
was.
mascot.
Oh my gosh. And it's seeing Astrobot wear a skin of Sackboy is blasphemous. It's like, I'm glad you're recognizing Sackboy as a mascot, but you know what you did. You are the same character and shape, just like a futuristic version. So t like shut up. You're you're spitting on Sackboy's grave.
I mean, well, I mean that's a horrifying image, like just a robot wearing the skin of a dead sack boy.
I know, literally. Um yeah, it took out all of Sackboy's stuffing and then just like crawled inside. Like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like lore, like a child stuffed into an animatronic.
So, outside of voiceover and acting, do you have any personal hobbies?
Oh man. Um sometimes it can get tough because you get into voice acting when you love the media, you love video games and anime and animation, and so sometimes work and hobby are one and the same. Because when I'm not voice acting or acting, because I do I on camera as well. When I'm not acting, I like consume all of these things. When I'm not in like recording for a game, I'm playing games. Um, that's a lot of what I do when I have time. Otherwise, like, um, I would say I skate, but I can't really do tricks. I just like to use it as a mode of transportation. I really want to do tricks. I'm gonna work on that. I have a right here. You can see I have a whiteboard and I have an ultimate to-do list. And the first thing is learn an ollie. I'll eventually do that. And when I do, oh, the world's gonna know. I'm gonna be like, guys, I have an ollie. But I like to skate. I love to exercise. Do I do stunts and fight choreo and parkour. Um, it's been a while because a few months ago I sprained both my wrists skating, funnily enough. I fell off my skateboard when I was skating home from the library. Not doing anything cool. I was printing a script. I wasn't reading. I'm not well read. I'm dumb and chopped. But yeah, I like to exercise and do stunts and parkour. I love to bake. I mostly bake cookies. What else? I don't know. I love cosplay. That was something that I did a ton uh pre LA when I had more time to, but that's something that will be making a comeback. I will unashamedly be a voice actor that cosplays the characters I voice because I think it's awesome. Um, I'm trying to think what else. I feel like everything is kind of vaguely adjacently nerdy. So it's all a little related to work.
But don't you ever get like, burnt out about, because whenever I talk to people who work on anime, they're like, I last thing I want to do when I get home is like watch more anime because I can't stand it anymore.
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe I'm not burnt out on it yet because I'm new. And so now it's been a really fun and interesting shift to start to watch things in dub. Because I would watch anime before this in college, subs all the time. And I love subs. But now I get to watch dubs and be like, "Oh, these are my friends." You know? Um, these are my coworkers. And in that way, it's like I watch it out of a place of I'm appreciating my friend's work and my peers' work. It's the same way that you would like if it was theater, if my friend is doing a show, I want to go see that show. I want to support them, you know? Um, and now starting to get into dubbing more, I'm watching it from a lens of I want to like I want to learn. Um, because when I'm recording, I run into problems of sometimes I get stuck on a line and I can't get out of my head and having the perspective of seeing how other people deal with sticky situations in dubbing and whatnot. Uh, I get to learn from that or just enjoy it. I don't know. Um, I still kind of have the rose-tinted glasses of like, wow, I'm in LA and I'm a voice actor now, you know? Um, and now I've gone down a sidetrack of talking about work again. Sorry.
I can imagine you just like going up to LA and just being like, "I made it," and then you're walking around and you're just like traveling around in your skateboard, and then and then some guy's like, "Get out the way, you fucking freak!"
Yeah, literally. Um, yeah, I'm not hard to miss. I'm pretty tall, and so I'm sure like a 6'3" person like skating down a sidewalk is like there. I'm sure there are people that are like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" I'm living my best life, truly. Um, but yeah, so but to kind of answer your question, I don't think I get sick of it much. Um, like I love it all. As much as it all is a job, I do think what can happen is, and what I've noticed in myself is that you can get really um if it is all you do, you kind of forget how to be a person. And good actors are good people too. And not just in the sense of like, oh, you're a good person and you're kind, but like you have life experiences to draw from. I think of what I've noticed in myself the past like year of living here is the further I've gotten into work and the sort of the busier I get and things like that. Um, the more that all I can think of sometimes is acting, and that will detract from your performance in the end. When you can only know how to voice act, it's kind of you start to fall into the trap of like what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast is like you only do the voice actor thing instead of like pulling from life. And so that's something I've been getting into more is like I'm trying to go out and meet people that aren't actors and go to bars and try new things and explore the city I live in, you know, have a more well-rounded life experience. Uh, which, yeah, and that balance, I think, makes it so then when you do make the time to play video game or watch an anime or something, it's like, oh no, I'm not sick of this yet. Because like I'm balancing it with like the other life stuff I'm doing, which is really fun.
You gotta find that balance because like it's tough like being a working actor and having a personal life and having a work life and just like constantly because like
Hmm.
when you're an actor, people need to understand this. Like when you're an actor, like you're constantly thinking about not only improving your craft but like you know getting to the point where you're getting hired consistently because trust me, this
Yeah,
business is not kind to anybody.
no, it's not. Like, like unless you reach the top upper echelons of people that have like the most recognizable names, so that like when people are listening for auditions and they see your name, you're like, oh, I know exactly who this person is. Or to the point where you're just like you are requested for roles straight up. Um, Anywhere below that, and even some of those top people audition all the time. Like even people like Yuri Lowenthal, who's my goat, Spider-Man and Sasuke and Yosuke, like dude auditions all the time because that's what we do. And then I think it's also a case of not many folks understand that with voice acting specifically, we are not paid Hollywood celebrity levels of money. Um, it requires like one session is say a 4 hour session for a game might come out to around $1,000 before tax. With tax and after paying agency and commission and stuff, it's like 500. But sessions don't come around that often. A lot of times you might only you it might be a gigantic game and you have like two sessions. And that pays for like rent, maybe. Anime is even less. Anime is like 100 something an hour. and you don't do anime that often. And so you really have to work and work and work to get as many sessions as possible. Or hope that you book like a fucking national commercial that pays 30 grand. And if you hit that, great. Take that bag and run. Um, but otherwise, yeah, it's an everyday you're working and really trying to make sure people know who you are and you're constantly improving and constantly putting your name out there. And it's a lot of rejection. Um, and as much as like I think voice actors are starting to be in the limelight a little more in recent years. Um, we are not Hollywood celebrities. We are not getting Robert Downey Jr. millions of dollars for being in Genshin Impact. Um, I think Joe Zija has a fantastic video talking about during the strike and a lot of the Genshin stuff. Um, he lays this out really well when it comes to like just doing the math for like how much you need to survive. If you just live off of Genshin, and he does the math about it, and it's like you would need 40 sessions in a year, which is what, 160 hours of recording, which is like no game has that much. No character does that much. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean it's not I mean cuz I think the problem is like with the where the business is now, people are so used to this idea of celebrity. Like these voice
Hmm.
actors get they see these voice actors get invited to these cons and what have you, and they think like, "Oh,
Yeah.
they must be making like a lot of money." I'm like, "No, they're not." Like most of the time they're
Hmm.
doing the cons and they have to do back-to-back cons cuz anime doesn't pay that much and they need to make
Yeah.
their money back. So
Hmm. Yeah. It like honestly, I don't know how much of the curtain I'm drawing um to the kind of back end of the industry. But I think it's important to be transparent about it. Is like a lot of people hope for a role that's big enough to be invited to conventions. Um, because conventions are what pays the bills, like not the sessions. Like, of course, if like once people know you and love your work enough and know that you're easy to work with, then you'll get invited back for sessions pretty often, and that can like cover you. But to like make a living, it is going to cons and like meeting folks and just talking, you know? Um, that is what is our livelihood. And so because of that, that can turn into a weird kind of weird game where we are all just vying for a role that's quote unquote convention worthy. And because of that, like can put a lot of stock into the names that we're attached to and the popularity of the franchise and the IP, which sucks. Because then you're not valuing the art that you do, the character and the story. You're just hoping that it's big. You're just hoping that the character is hot enough for people to pull for it in like a gotcha game. Um, yeah, it can kind of put blinders on folks and make things really tough. Yeah, I don't know. That's a dark side of the industry, an unfortunate kind of byproduct of the like popularity like contest of it all. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, I mean, that's the downside of like, yes, it is cool that that voice actors are being more recognized and getting invited to these
Hmm.
cons, but at the same time, it's like a lot of the time they just show up there, and I think someone said this on Blue Sky. They said like, when I got into acting, I want to tell stories. I want to like, if I want to do cons, I want to like talk to people about like the craft and do panels and all this other thing. I don't want to go
Hmm.
there and sit there on a table for 8 hours signing autographs. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been invited to any conventions yet. And I don't expect to very fast. Like I love how much people love polyester. But like, dude, as far as you guys know, I'm in one thing. I'm not expecting to go to a con anytime soon. Um, but the thing that I always hope for is that I'll get to go and meet people that love these things as much as I do. You know, like are as passionate about the characters as we are making them. But sometimes it can turn into, we are like voice actors are the representatives or like strangely like the ambassadors for the series or the franchise or the character. Um, I've heard stories of people that of my friends will say, uh, I'll tell a story verbatim actually. James Willems, who was was on Funhouse on YouTube, and voiced I think the Green Ranger in a Power Rangers game. Was doing a con once, and then someone came up to him and was like, "Hey man, so wonderful to meet you. So sorry you died." And he was like, "What?" And that person was referencing how the original actor for the Ranger, Tommy, I forget his name, um, passed away a few years ago. And that's like a blend of the of like the blending of life and fiction. It's like, whoa, like I'm not the Ranger. Like I'm James and I told the story. And then people being like, "Oh, thinking that James and the actor for another Ranger were like in love because those Rangers in the fiction are." Um yeah, yeah. I think parasocial relationships and the blending of fiction and real life can get really iffy. Um it's yeah, a weird side effect of the industry and voice actors getting more attention.
And I say this a lot, and I still stand by it. Please do not refer to the actors as their characters. They are not their
Hmm.
characters. They're just actors. Just leave them
Yeah.
alone. Just leave them alone.
Hmm. Um yeah. And like always happy to talk. Like like all if anyone were to be like, "Oh my gosh, I like love to work in Panty Stocking. That's so cool." Like I would love to talk about that. I do it because I love it. I do it because I'm passionate about it. But yeah, if I were to be treated as polyester, especially the way that like characters can be objectified, ooh, ooh, and especially in the case of female and femme presenting voice actors, do not do not objectify them. Do not make them uncomfortable. Respect their boundaries. And I've heard so many horror stories. When I was um a couple of my friends were doing a con back in like January, February-ish. Um, I literally like the con was not providing much like attention for them. They were kind of they didn't have signing tables like in the voice actor guest section. They kind of were part of the series that they were attached to, and they were signing. There was a couple people who like wouldn't leave the table, and so I literally just stood there. I and bodyguarded, and if it got too long, I was like, "Hey man, like a couple more people in line, like maybe like they've got more people to talk to. Let's um like what else do you have going on for the rest of the day?" Because in the case of female and femme voice actors, some people like that attention and they like thinking that the characters they play, it's like having the personification of them giving attention. It's like, let's, you know, remember, they're human beings. Um, and they're not here for your amusement, you know.
Also, please do not, like, under any circumstances, show up to a con and ask an actor to sign, like, explicit fan art of a character.
Hmm.
Please don't do that. That is gross.
Yeah. Um, especially if that character is underaged. That is a huge no-no. Absolutely huge no-no. In some cases, like I think I think even in the case of Panty and Stocking, like I understand if it's a thirst print, makes sense. I know the show that I'm in. Those twinks are hot, and their transformation sequence, they're in thongs. I'm not gonna act like that's not the case. But if it's straight up like explicit, unless a voice actor says like straight up like I'm comfortable with this, I understand the content. It's like I don't know. It's sometimes an autograph is an endorsement, and there's some things that we have to draw the limits on. Of would love to sign this for you, but at the same time, there's some things we can't put our names on for various reasons. But otherwise, like if you have something cool, like if you have a print that's hot, but not like porn, sick. Or if you have a personal item, if you have a figure, yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is like just respect people's boundaries. That's all I ask. Like,
Yeah.
just, I know it's fun to chat to people at cons, especially when there's no one at the table and you want to like keep them company, but at the same time it's like don't don't overstay your welcome. Say what you want to need to say and then leave.
Yeah. Um, yeah. They're like we love to talk to folks about what we're passionate about. Um, but that does not mean we can be friends, you know? Um, yeah, which is hard to say, TBH. I love interacting with people. I think that's been a weird thing about past couple weeks is like it's been a lot of attention on Panty and Stocking. It's a lot all at once for my brain to handle. Um, anytime I look at Twitter, it's like constant serotonin of like, wow, people are liking this and there's art and stuff. And sometimes that parasocialness can go both ways because the more that we as voice actors, or I'll say the more that because I don't want to speak for anyone else, the more that I want to interact with folks that enjoy the work, it's like the more that I'm getting that attention. But it's like, no, I have to remember, like, I don't know these people, you know? They're drawing fan art of a character that I'm voiced, but that character's not me. In some ways, I'm just as much of a fan of the media as they are. Um, but there has to be a line drawn. Um, it's professional. Yeah, which is really tough, really tough.
Yeah, and I remember hearing a horror story, someone was talking to me about this where, there was a popular voice actor, I won't say who, you know, um, befriended a fan and
Mm.
this fan had crossed the line by contacting one of his family members without his permission, and it was
Yeah,
disgusting, and I was
yeah,
appalled by that. And this voice actor rightfully called them out on it. And I hear stories like that, and it breaks my heart because it's like, you know, voice, voice actors are nice, and it's not impossible for them to develop friendships with people who are
yeah.
fans, but please keep your distance. Don't
Mm.
do that. Don't like hunting down a family member and contacting them without their permission is crossing so many lines. That's just disgusting.
Yeah. I've had friends that have had to make everything private, have had to scrub the internet for any personal information. And it was a talk that I had with my family. Before it was like the day or two before um Penny and Stocking came out. I was like, hey guys, like on Wednesday, it's gonna be my first time being in a thing. I don't know how big it is, but people are looking forward to these characters. If anybody contacts you that you don't know or is crossing a boundary in some way, like ignore them, block them, and let me know so that we can figure out how they found you and get rid of that access. Um, and it's weird to have to give that talk to my mom and my dad, you know? Um, yeah, because you just like don't know who thinks they're friends with you. Yeah. Uh, but I don't know. That's the case, I'm sure, with so many industries. I don't know if you felt that at all as a public figure, as a podcaster.
I mean, I've had like, because speaking of like virality, I mean, I did upload like a couple like shorts on Instagram that like went, I wouldn't say viral, but like they got attention, and I did have people contacting me being like, "Oh, what happened with this?" Because there were clips from an
Mm,
interview. There were clips from an interview I scrapped because I wasn't happy with it, and someone contacted me about it and
mm,
being like, I have questions about this and that, and I'm just like, it's scary. Like opening up your
yeah,
Instagram and seeing like a message saying, "Can I ask you something?" And I'm like, I don't know you. Like, what?
yeah,
Like, what? I'm just like, the only people I talk to on Instagram are people that are past guests that I'm trying to get back on the show, or people that
mm,
I'm in contact with, or other podcasters or whoever. If I don't know you, like, don't I'm not gonna respond to that. Like even on
yeah,
Blue Sky, like I'll reply to a lot of posts, but
mm,
I'll like, when people reply to any of my posts, I'm not gonna reply to it. I only reply to people I know or people I've like
yeah,
talked to before. Because that freaks me out. Like, you open up your social media and you get like a message from someone you don't know. I'm like, uh, what? Who are you? What? What are you?
yeah,
What are you trying to say to me? You know?
mm,
What the fuck are we doing?
yeah. I don't know. I think some people think that that access is there, and granted, part of me understands it. Um I think like you said, I think I'm like 10 years younger than you, like give or take a couple. And so I don't know how much of your childhood was growing up with the internet, but I had internet access from a very early age. And I think growing up with it, you kind of get used to the access that it gave, anonymity. Like a lot of my friendships when I was a kid were online. And so I think that's part of it is people that grew up with the internet and maybe have a lot of friendships exclusively over the internet think that any access is an open door. And so just the ability to message is like, oh, I've made friends by DMing folks before. Like this will work out. Um, without recognizing that those boundaries are not always the same. Um, and sometimes there are people that will like at least respond a little bit, you know? I like sometimes I get DMs that I'll respond that are nice and I'll respond to very like succinctly. I'll be like, thanks, because it's just a short thing and like I'll read it. But then I'll like that goes into like there's like I think Instagram has like a primary list of DMs and then a general. And then I'll just be like, hey, thank you. And then like it does not develop further. Um, oh, I had another thought, another point, but it's gone now. What the hell? It was something about like, oh, that was it. I think I think that's another weird part about with the industry, like mm, like becoming friends with people that are established. I remember I've talked to some folks about they're like, oh, I feel like I can't get in the voice actor community because like I don't have a big resume yet. And I've felt that since getting here. I think, there's sometimes a visible difference, a tangible difference when you meet someone who is like a well-known voice actor. And if you're just starting out, it's sort of treated as like a you're at a distance, like a professional distance, and almost like you're a fan. Like, okay, you're getting started. Like, cool. But sometimes it feels like you can't really access them or befriend them. Um, and that can feel really shitty to be like, oh, like you don't care about me because I don't have enough followers or I don't have a resume under my belt. Um, but then as soon as you have that, as soon as you have a credit or like you've worked together, like other people in the industry are talking about you, so then they're like, oh, I've heard your name before. Like now we can talk. I think at first I know that I felt it was it was like, oh, you're thinking about my worth as a person based off of the follower count or whatever. Um, and I'm still sort of in that camp of like, I think that's shitty, but I can understand that once you've worked with people, that means that you're like having a couple credits under your belt means that you're a good person to work with. And that means you're nice. Generally, that just means you're a nice, good person. And from there, people that might have experiences with folks crossing the line will be like, okay, I know this person won't cross the line because they're also a professional and I can trust that. And so it's a weird balance to strike of like wanting to treat everyone like they're human, but understanding that just for personal safety, distance has to be kept very careful. And I hate talking about it, because like I want to be friends with everybody, but that is not safe. That is not a safe thing to do.
Oh, especially if you're an anime voice actor. Good Lord, that's a bad idea.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I had had those experiences before of like I talk to someone and I'd be like, yeah, I'm Hunter, I'm a voice actor. They'd be like, all right, all right, cool. And then I book something, and then it's like, oh, Hunter, yeah, what's up? The shift can happen. The shift can change.
I mean, I've had that I've had that happen with me where, during the pandemic, I said this like to someone a couple of days ago on Instagram as well, where we were just talking about podcasting, and I flat out said like, I truly believe like I was like I don't want to say that I'm trying to word this in a way that it doesn't make me feel that doesn't make me sound like I'm glad the pandemic happened because I'm not glad that I'm not glad the pandemic happened. No, it was awful. It was terrible. It
Hmm.
was legit awful, but I truly believe
Yeah.
now, like looking back at like 2020 to 2021, 2022, when I was like getting a lot of like big name people to come on the show, I'm like
Yeah.
and I said this to this person. I'm like, I truly believe now, like now looking in hindsight, that's magic word for this episode, hindsight. I truly believe that a lot of these people only came on because it was a pandemic here and they had nothing else to do.
Mm.
Because like I've tried contacting them again for like coming back for like a follow up or whatever, and
Mm.
they're and just like no response, and I'm just like, okay, I see how this goes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's tough. But but I will say kind of like on the point, like it gave me comfort when you contacted and I looked at your podcast and I'd seen that you'd interviewed like Corey and Daniel Marin, who's a friend of mine, and um these other people in the industry. It was because then, like kind of like what I was talking about before, I was like, oh, Abdullah's a professional. Like I can listen and be like, oh, this is going to be a really awesome, nice conversation.
Yeah, but yeah, before I wrap this up, can you give us an update on what you're currently working on and where can people find you online?
Oh man. Okay. Currently working on new Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt on Amazon Prime and maybe Crunchyroll. I've heard I'm in season 2. Uh Officially. The 2025 series. There's one from 2010 that I'm not in, but I'm in 2025 version. On Amazon Prime in Crunchyroll. And some other new exciting stuff will be announced in the coming months. but a lot of times we aren't even told what we can say. And so, but I'm working on some cool stuff in the background that I can't wait to share. In the meantime, I can be found on Twitter, um, at Hunt McCoy, MCCOY with two Y's, um, or on Instagram at hunt.mccoy, HUNT.MCCOY. And sometimes I'm on Twitch, but for the most part, um, Instagram first and then Twitter. I'm getting more on Twitter now, which I hate, but it is part of it's oh, I hate that it's working on me. But I've been talking a lot more on Twitter. And so Hunt McCoy, um, in different forms on either platform.
Thank you so, so much for coming on and doing this. This has been
Mhm.
a wonderful conversation, and I hope to have you back in the future as well.
Yes, of course. I would love to come back on. Do you can my cat say bye before
Yeah,
we
you can.
completely
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Let me let him in and then I'll hold him up to the camera. Yay! Come say bye to Abdullah. Yay! Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, man. This has been super, super fun.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.